We'll now look at the second handful of objections I've collected against Esther. Some are pretty obscure, and you may wonder why they even bothered. It's noted that there's no evidence outside of the Old Testament that Persian law was irrevocable. One wonders why this is not evidence enough that it was. However, such absolute power is presupposed by any imperial dictatorship. There's certainly nothing unlikely about such a principle being in force. The objection to this verse is twofold. First, it's said that the decree is absurd and would hardly be promulgated. Second, that the decree would not be published in multiple languages. The second objection is unworthy, as there were a number of languages and scripts in the Persian Empire. As for the former objection, let's just be frank. Drunken men sometimes are ridiculous. Some critics have objected to the incredible length of this beauty treatment. It's enough to point out that this passage highlights the extravagance and artificiality of the Persian court. The tyrannical or wealthy will go to whatever extremes please them. Won't they? A couple of objections come out of this passage. First, it is considered doubtful that Xerxes would so blithely hand over an entire nation within his empire for destruction. In response, some have noted that there are historical parallels. It's probably not wise to underestimate the indifference a tyrant may have to the destruction of a given people, whom he sees as being of no particular benefit to his interest. It's also found strange that an 11-month period would be allowed to lapse before Haman took his action. A parallel is often cited in a 4-month delay in a decree implemented by Antiochus III, but it's enough to point out that the casting of lots in the ancient world was often used for important decisions. And if some people trusted lots to that extent, then Haman would likely have seen a bright side in the delay, saying it was what the gods intended. He may have even hoped the Jews would leave the kingdom and leave their wealth and property behind. Finally, one critic considers it unlikely that Xerxes would allow fighting within the confines of his palace. Well, we might simply ask whether this was an instance where anyone asked, or would have asked, Xerxes' permission beforehand. That's the sum on Esther. The book may be unusual for not mentioning God, but the objections to it, pretty much run of the mill. See you next time.